Radio Icengelo, restoring everything in Christ with love and truth. Good afternoon with the main news. I'm Kennedy Mbewe Jr. Kindly be informed that we are also streaming live on the Radio Icengelo Facebook page to you following us on social media. Here are the headlines. Support the poor players in the diocese. Chingwa and Tilabombo in fuel shortage, and coach Mumamba Numba warns his team against relaxing after opening a 7-point lead in the Super League. The details. Catholic Diocese of Vondola Bishop Benjamin Piri has urged the faithful to support the Poor Clares sisters in the diocese. Bishop Piri said Christians should visit the Poor Clares at Our Lady of Living Silence Monastery in Icengelo, Luansha to help them materially. Bishop Piri said the sisters deserve to have a better monastery compared to the one they are currently living in. Speaking when he celebrated Easter Sunday Mass with the Poor Clares yesterday, Bishop Piri further asked the sisters to continue praying for the church and political leaders.
Thank you, the sisters, the Poor Clares, for this liturgy. It's a beautiful liturgy. I encourage our crew from Icengelo to come often to record the liturgy here, because the liturgy here is beautiful and it helps to pray. People in the diocese do not know that we have a monastery here of the Poor Clares, because you don't record them, you don't broadcast. So make a program so that from time to time, not just when the bishop is here, you can agree, you come and record certain liturgies, certain programs which will help people to pray. This monastery is just starting. We need to pray so that we can find money to build the actual monastery.
Police his 27-year-old wife after domestic dispute. Copperbelt Police Chief Last Chushi said in a statement that the incident happened yesterday around 19 hours at Miteta Farms, Luang Fula area in Chidelabombwe. Mr. Chushi explained that the suspect, only identified as Mlenga, who is on the run, is alleged to have used a piece of concrete block on his wife, Veronica Chanda. He added that the deceased sustained multiple injuries on her face and was rushed to Kakoso Level 1 hospital, where she was pronounced dead upon arrival. A shortage of fuel has hit Chingola and the Tilabombo districts. A check conducted by Radio Icengelo News in the two districts this morning found that most service stations had no fuel, with only Total filling station having the commodity. The situation has forced motorists to be queuing up for the commodity. And speaking to Radio Icengelo News in Chingola today, affected motorists called on government to address the matter.
Means of transportation inatkwatapanganda nomba siwo ile kushopa
today chanya mafuta for my drivers this time mafuta tayafuira okushota yafuire yafula although twali mufati bali pera amatangazi ama drivers empowerment apa pakati apa bale firo shano okupatika kwele na amatangazi pakati yamba okubomba bwino nomba twarafika kwisi Uteko upoza kwa mano panta twabombe bwino efwe mnumchara chachingora kozi po peo pere mpia
so like mure imetoka mchingora shonse na shimanina ba musaruta baenshe barweleta baende ba booking abantu na famele nishina kumenda tatwapate so I think mchingora twapata 9 filling stations so as you can see in town center this is the only filling station that has sugar.
Those are motorists in Chingola and the Chidelabombwe talking to Radio Chingelo's Patrick Mpeta. Moving on, Pope Francis prayed on Easter Sunday for the suffering to take refuge in the wounds of Christ and receive the hope which does not disappoint. In his Ubi 8 Obi blessing, the Pope said the witnesses of Christ's resurrection bears the marks of the wounds in his hands, feet, and side. According to the Catholic News Agency website, the Pope said the wounds are the everlasting seal of Christ's love for mankind. He added that Christians' sufferings are now transfigured in the light of the risen Christ. The Jesuit Center for Theological Reflections, JCTR, says it is expecting violent free campaigns in the run-up to this year's general elections. JCTR Programs Officer John Sauti said political leaders need to tame their cadres and ensure that they behave responsibly. Speaking on Radio Icengelo on a JCTR program dubbed The Road to 2021 general elections, Mr. Sauti observed that the country's economy is ailing and that political parties must conduct their campaigns based on how they will help improve the economy.
You know, they can give a directive and say, when Palindakai, Bakada, Apana Passion, Nango, Apana, Palakama ministers of Malaland, our never Kada, she did before Padino is not supporter, she did Padino to live for a pastry, Ukubombomli. So the Charavat, Ukubombom, P1, then Nishi, Nama solutions to Alambo, Piasan.
On the same program, Democratic Governance and Human Rights Advocate Sadega Youth Coordinator Pride Katiwa says young people should desist from political violence. We now move on to sports. The School United coach Mumamba Numba is warning his team against relaxing after opening a 7-point lead at the top of the FAS Super League. Zesco yesterday moved to 43 points from 21 matches played after beating Zanaco 2-1 at Levi Monausa Stadium in Ndola. In a post-match interview, Numba said Zesco must continue working hard because the coming games will be more tough.
We really needed this win so that we can open up with a 7-point lead. But it is a game which was a tough game. I think we didn't come to the party, especially in the first half, where we gave Zanaco too much space and managed to get a goal. But after we had a chat with the team in the second half, we saw much improvement in the second half and we got the 2 goals.
And Zanaco coach Chris Kaunda regretted his team's loss to the league leaders.
I'm sure we work on it. We saw the mistakes by the way. It's a team. We have lost as a team. Now the games are still open. They'll play.
This news broadcast comes to community service of Radio Icengelo with compliments of Moose Milling at Go TV broadcast. Before Benjamin Netanyahu has arrived in court in Jerusalem, the opening arguments and the first witnesses. Mr. Netanyahu, 71, is accused of bribery, fraud, and breach of trust in connection with 3 separate cases. He formally pleaded not guilty to the charges at a hearing in February. His trial has been delayed several times because of coronavirus-related restrictions and last month's general election, in which it was a key issue. Here's the BBC with a roundup of stories.
From the prosecutors, the chief prosecutor really claiming, she said, the charges are about the meeting point between the desires of business people and the interests of the Prime Minister. Mr. Netanyahu has denied any wrongdoing in the cases against him. He has called the proceedings a political witch hunt. But then across the city, the president has begun meeting members of political parties. He actually began with Mr. Netanyahu's own political party, Likud. They, of course, recommended that the Prime Minister should be the one who should be given the first chance to try to form a new coalition government.
The Mozambican military says it's retaken Palma, a town in the north of the country that was attacked and captured by Islamist militants last month. State radio is reporting residents have started returning, some to homes that were looted. It's still not clear how many people were killed when the jihadists linked to the Islamic State group attacked Palma. The UN said at least 11,000 people fled, many of them to the town of Pemba. India has recorded its highest number yet of coronavirus infections in a single day, with nearly 104,000 confirmed cases. Most are in the western state of Maharashtra, which is tightening restrictions, as Rajini Vaidyanathan explains.
shops, markets, malls, they'll all be shut. There's going to be an evening curfew as well and a lockdown at weekends. Now, there won't be a national lockdown. It's unlikely that that will come in, even if cases rise as they are in other parts of the country as well, because of the economic impact it would have on people here in India. So what we're seeing, as we're seeing in Maharashtra, is case by case, state by state restrictions that are being brought in.
Well, that story ends today's or this afternoon's main news on Radio Icengelo at 13:30. So thank you so very much for listening. And of course, for these and more stories, feel free to visit the Radio Icengelo Facebook page. And remember to listen to Ilya Shimchwemba coming your way at 16 hours. On behalf of the entire news team, my name is Kennedy Mbewe Jr. Thank you so very much for listening. And remember, COVID-19 is real. Therefore, follow the COVID-19 protocols. Thank you so very much for listening and for viewing on social media. Good afternoon.
The main news was brought to you by Moose Milling and GoTV Broadcasting Zambia Limited.
Are you worried about cleaning in the era of COVID-19?